you said, very inconsistent with it. And that's been the big problem. And I hope that Mental Coach is still helping with that.
MIBR and Black Dragons enter the day in 6th and 7th place, tied at the same amount of points. They are the only team that's behind them is Team 1. Villa is going to be our where we go today.
As that has only been played once, and it was by MIBR against Liquid, and they lost quite poorly. It was 2-7. So not their best result, but obviously they are keen to play the map. Black Dragons obviously allowing it as well, so we'll see if they have anything in first round. But it is interesting to see the rare maps, the Coastline and the Villa that had only been played once.
Yes.
They're just maps that Latin America has tended to be allergic to.
I know. Villa in particular does not see a lot of play in this region. Is not for a long period of time. You're Victor in the community poll, 52% for MIBR.
Feels about right.
38% by Black Dragons and a 10% draw. So, all right, that's not bad.
I mean,
that's pretty good.
If you look at where they stand, that makes about sense. But I mean, maybe that favors MIBR a little bit more, just because we know historically they can be great, as opposed to where they stand right now. Being kind of tied towards the bottom. It's not.
Make MIBR great again? Is that a way to say that? Can we say that? Are we allowed to say that? Can I? Am I going to get censored? Hello? No, I think we'll be fine. We'll get into the match.
It's a good thing you were solo cast. You're already waiting for responses just for everything.
Could you imagine? I was actually so ready for it. I was ready to solo cast. I was like, you know what? We're going to go out with a bang. Devin's asleep. Milos is gone. Kix is basically incapacitated. And then you woke up. Thank you. So praise Devin. If you have not gone on social media yet, and number one, if you have not gone on social media and given some love to Lycan for the fact that his health diagnosis is not ideal, or given praise to Emzo for his selflessness, please do those things. Also wish Kix well, and if you have parents, give one of them a call and tell them you love them. There you go. All right, no Maverick and no Thatcher.
Well,
I'm going to do my best Kix impression. Oh, it's going to be one of these matches.
Yeah. It is the plus side is we've seen less Thatcher bans today than we often do.
That is true, and it was for a while Latin America's favorite ban.
Yeah.
Thatcher, get rid of him. MIBR's bans, now that they are completed, will be a Maverick and an Echo, where for Black Dragons it'll be a Thatcher and a Mira.
Well, Maestro will get a slight buff in the Thatcher not being alive. I guess technically you could say the Maverick as well, who could take out those evil eyes with his torch. It's just really uncommon to see. It's not that we haven't ever seen it, just, uncommon.
Uncommon.
Yeah. But the Thatcher ban also means the Mute Mozzie combo, much stronger. Combine that with them not having the Maverick to be able to poke holes as needed, and the difficulty of dealing with hard breach when it comes to impact tricking, this could be a very formidable defense. But at the same time, we've seen attacks just do crazy things. Liquid just be like, that's not fine, we'll just run in a cycle everyone. It happens. But the slower ADS time may hurt that a little bit. We're going to see if PZD try and struggle with that on Ashe, as he's very likely to try and rely on it. But Dokkaebi actually going to get brought along with Jackal. So roam play, in theory, going to get shut down a bit. And this is a map that does benefit roamers quite a bit, even more so than Bank, because the basement is rarely contested. For good reason. And there's 3 sets of stairs to come up from, not to mention things to drink down there if you get bored while waiting. So it does offer a lot of opportunity to defenders to rotate using that. There's also various hatches you could drop that aren't often covered. So it is difficult sometimes, and that means timing is important. If you're pinging someone Jackal, right, you need to be in the map. If you're outside catching footprints and no one's inside the building, you're going to get a little bit of information, but it's going to quickly expire, and you're not going to be able to do a lot with it. Same with phone calls. You can call people, but if you aren't around to help them answer that call with a bullet, you're not really doing a ton. So timing is going to be key for both Live and WAG. We were talking about WAG earlier, ending up off of his team. He seemed to kind of float for a little bit, and I think he's found a decent place on a team. It's just this team overall hasn't been doing, I think, as great as WAG would like. I think Hornetow and Lagonas, though, haven't been terrible additions. I think they've been playing decent for this team. So
Hornetow made his name known in relegations. Remember, he was a hell of a performer, standout performer, and then immediately gets snagged by Black Dragons.
That's what you do.
And, I mean, you make a name for yourself. I can't fault somebody at all for wanting to make a roster move based on potential of a newer player, and I think that's the real thing for Black Dragons is, number one, you've got WOG and PZD reunited. They were on that NIP roster, and they were on the old Black Dragons roster way back in the day, so they've obviously found themselves a very comfy home. But then you also pick up Lagonas, who's young and got potential. Live, who has never really been able to step out of the shadow of a lot of other players in this region. Then you pick up Hornetow as well. There's a lot of potential and a lot of youngsters on Black Dragons that can make a name for themselves. In contrast, MIBR, who are, well, they're quite good. So then they've been around for quite a while.
Also, speaking of which, shout out to Styx, who corrected that V3 Masters is now NIP. So that's where that heritage came from. I was a little unsure on V3 Masters. So
you have to go back to the old BRK lineage, which I thought was Keed Stars or whatever it was called. I could have sworn they were the BRK roster. I mean,
it's possible. I honestly,
you can actually go back to Liquipedia and you can actually like just select one of the players. Like go back and look at like Nesk and see what his original squad was. Because
it also gets confusing because a lot of the ESL pages for these teams are not updated the way they are in other regions.
That is true.
So it makes the job harder.
All right. Well, in keeping with what we've seen so far today, a minute and a half gone by, next to no action. All right, well, that is a strange thing, isn't it?
Especially with 2 roam clear operators.
Down below, PZD will decide to enter the building, but it's going to be in the garage, and he's going to go in flying completely blind. Hornetow, very first kill onto M-King. Black Dragons will open things up in round number 1. As you can see, there's nobody inside of the A site. There's a smoke that might conceal the location. You can run on in, maybe go for the plant. PZ's going to get shut down by a barricade here as 2 members of MIBR will watch. Not exactly the best place for them to be as it's Hugzord against 4 members of Black Dragons above. But Wog finds Cyber, so at least somebody else from MIBR will go down. There goes Hugzord. Hornetow with 3 kills. Diffuser down, Bullet in a very no-win situation. Pre-fire, no. Flawless round from Black Dragons. Excellent start for them. On attack. On Villa. That's what you like to see.
Big problem is way too many players in the kitchen for a trophy defense. I mean, you probably could have eaten during either of the 2 previous matches. It was not the wrong play. I mean, good clear by the attackers and taking control of the site very quickly, but it was really just exploiting the fact that MIBR was hanging out very far off site. I mean, 2 players even down there. I understand they wanted to be able to control from below to some extent, but then you have to rotate up staircases, and, well, with so few attackers being lost, they're really going to be able to control those, not to mention their own clear operators being played. It was not great. You could hear the phones ringing. Yes, that wasn't doing a lot for them, but it also made retakes more difficult. You're not going to run up the stairs with your phone ringing and hope to successfully retake without being shot. So it definitely paid off. PZD teasing a hard breacher, but saying, forget hard breach. Gonna switch back to the Ash again. So far, a great start from Black Dragons. And not really the best bomb site to start on. Trophy is got kind of a mixed bag. Aviator gains a little bit more of a solid defensive site, so you're going to go here next.
Especially with Thatcher and Maverick banned.
Absolutely.
If there's a Thatcher and a Maverick unavailable, then why are you not going to this site?
Yeah, you got a lot of walls here to work with.
We saw Liquid do very well attacking this site without a Thatcher or a hard breacher at all, but I mean, there's a lot of teams that are not able to emulate the way that Liquid
That was very much an exception.
Yes, I would agree as well.
But who knows? Maybe Black Dragons will pull it off. As they even teased the hard breacher and then 6 picked off it. So, of course, if Hugzord knew that, he wouldn't be wasting so many shotgun shells on the floor, not knowing whether or not there'll be a thermite he has to contend with. But nope, they're going with the Liquid style of just, let's get them. They will have the air jabs to be able to cut off rotates. That will be pretty useful as well, because stair rotates, for example, the main stairs, or even red, players coming up from those late can really put a bit of hurt in your attack strategy, because you're really focused in on the site through the doorways, not necessarily watching your back on those stairways. Also, taking hallway, the classical hallway and 90 is a little bit easier when you don't have to worry as much about people rotating up the main stairs. Definitely a lot of roam going on here.
I was going to say, and Black Dragons will have the tools to be able to deal with it, though they didn't necessarily need to find the roamers last round. They just kind of pushed the site after there was that entry from PZD, and what happened? Well, MIBR collapsed, and they had to dedicate those offsite players to a retake, and all of whom ended up falling short, so...
They do have even the mute to help with the Dokkaebi and Jackal, and it's my understanding is that you can actually turn off the Jackal tracking by hitting a mute jammer now.
Yeah.
So that's fun. That will help, I suppose, a little bit. Not a huge amount.
There's a bug fix involving that today.
Oh, was there?
I'm trying to remember what it was, but yeah, there was. Angled grip as well, so...
Must have.
C7E of live means that it'll be able to ADS faster. We will continuously reference the ADS changes, so... Anyway, hot pursuit as live gets baited into an altercation with Bullet. Air jab goes off, and the next member of Black Dragons to throw their body at the problem will be Hornetow. PZD finds Bullet. Bike room, Cyber knows there's somebody there, lights it up. Nobody can connect. He'll scoot away. Wog is waiting for the call. He knows he sees the Jaeger, but that is not the move that you want to do, Wog. finds himself in a position where he's not going to be able to get out alive. So it's Lagonis and PZD against MIBR's numbers advantage. On an Aviator Games take, all of the action has occurred on that first floor. So MIBR's off-site play that was not successful in round 1, proving to be better this time.
Well, they do have limited tools now to work with. They still have some air jabs and Ash to be able to run around, but finding 3 is going to be a little bit difficult here without the extra intel that they might need. They're at least pushing too close to sight. Now, they actually are going to have to deal with the battery, or the electroclaw rather, electrifying the barbed wire there. It's not something you have to deal with often, but this is a situation where I think even if they went to fire an Ash breach charge into it to clear it, it would actually take out the breach charge. So something they're going to have to try and skirt around, and they do so through the classic hallway, which is anticipated by Cyber, and, well, cleaned up by Navis. So you talk about Cyber and Navis, they're there, as you said, doing their thing, and MIBR pick up around this time on, again, a better bomb site, and now they can't play it for 2 more rounds. So hopefully they can make something work on Trophy and or Kitchen, Library being a rare treat.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to have to go to one of the other bomb sites, which are not as suitable for most of the defenders. Well, Trophy and Statuary was not quite the cup of tea for MIBR. So instead, they'll brew down below in Kitchen. You don't really see Living Room and Library played that much. So, I mean, this is usual 3-site rotation for Villa. The problem is that if MIBR don't have a great amount of strats for dealing with Trophy Statuary, they could find themselves in some significant trouble.
Yeah. The pulse here should help things a little bit in being able to identify where attack's coming from as they're going to be playing below. So at least they'll appropriately be in Kitchen this time. But the Dokkaebi Jackal coming out yet again to try and track them down, and they don't have the mute to play with this time. They have the Mozzie still to deny some droning, which is helpful, but I mean, neither the Dokkaebi phone calls or the Jackal tracking require that droning. So they're actually going to help them get around those pests in a variety of ways, and you can still walk past pests if you're tracking someone down. So that is something that the lack of the mute here really potentially going to hurt them in small ways, depending on how they play around. But the pulse will definitely help equalize a little bit in anticipating those pushes, especially say someone's getting Jackal Tracker phone called and you're anticipating push and you're near the pulse. He can at least let you know where they're coming from, so you can better hold an angle, pre-fire it, things like that. As well as C4 is going to be available from likely at least 3, if not 4 of the players. So plenty of utility to work with. I think some of it's going to come down to how effective the roam is, if there is a roam from MIBR. As you're not likely to get to sit all in sight because they're going to open up the floor on you. And you have to deal with it, but it looks like a very heavy push through the basement, of all things. 3 players stacked up on that push.
This is the wreck strategy where you just have 3 people push on through basement and Hornetau, as well as the Jackal, as well as the Ash. You'll just continue to trade them off. You lose Hornetau's sledge, but the Jackal and the Ash are still intact, and you lose Cyber playing very aggressively by the bottom of red stairs. There goes a C4. Good thing you're a 3-speed, or good thing you're a 2-speed rather, as Wog managed to get away. I haven't noticed that Dokkaebi's silhouette looks very similar. Oh, nice shot.
Oh, wow.
M-King, you can't teach that. He absolutely roasts PZD through the soft walls. He tries to get out of that bicycle storage room and doesn't end up going anywhere. Now M-King has another on the pulse. Can you hop out, or are you going to engage the Dokkaebi? Well, neither of them have a particularly good loadout. M-King's just going to pause for now. Doesn't need to do anything. He can wait and bait the Dokkaebi on in. The question is, does the Dokkaebi have smokes or frag grenades? Because keep in mind, she has a choice to be made.
Well, with Jackal in play, I would imagine you'd bring frags.
I mean, you never know, though. 4 smokes. No, it looks like Flash is getting tossed on out. Live is down, so there goes the Jackal. Swung on as Lagonis comes on in. But there's Navis with 2 kills. Really, I don't know what's going on in Latin America today. Really weird pacing. I don't know if it's the ADS changes. But MIBR manages to retake the site after they give up control to Black Dragons. Very well played.
I mean, it looked like Black Dragons had a pretty decent attack there. They were a little bit stacked up and funneled a bit. They had some great swing, like the swing in from the Nomad was great timing. They were able to pinch those roamers, but because of the roamers off-site not being controlled, despite the phone calls going off, you could hear the phone still ringing, it wasn't enough. They were able to find where a lot of the roamers are and tried to exploit the fact that they weren't in sight, or the ones that were in sight they were able to anticipate. it was the offsite players, of course, that they were able to retake, especially the Valkyrie there at the end. And but also some great kills like the pulse through the soft wall. Things like that definitely even things out enough for them to be able to retake it. It just seemed like a little bit of lack of map control there working against Black Dragons, but they also might have been a bit under time pressure. And having lost a couple of attackers early that I'm sure they didn't anticipate losing, kind of weakened up a lot of their flanks there and gave an opportunity for MIBR. But this is, I feel like this could definitely be a pretty back and forth match here from what I'm seeing so far. I mean, the EDS time, we're giving it probably a bit too much credit just kind of for emphasis. But because we have definitely seen matches that have been very oddly paced in Latin America occasionally. But some of that, part of the reason we say oddly paced is also the expectation of certain styles of pacing that we see often here that aren't always met in Latin America. Things shift sometimes due to the matchup, sometimes due to the map, operator bans, things like that. So you never really know. But MIBR are definitely trying to make sure that they are in control of such a large map, despite Nomad, Jackal, Dokkaebi coming out. So it is interesting how MIBR have been able to successfully play against that for the most part. And some of that's due to maybe Black Dragons not being as coordinated and methodical in their map control and clear, the way that they push in and then cut off those rotates with the Nomad. We'll see how things go down this round. They still have time to be able to shift their play a little bit, as it's only round 4 and they still have this attacking round plus 2 more.
I get that Navi's is feeling it and that he's playing very well, but what are you doing? Why are you don't take that fight. There you go. Very smart play. He peels off. He leaves Cyber up top watching the statuary area. I am kind of surprised it's not a trophy statuary defense.
I mean, that really wasn't a great defense from them, but at the same time, it is doable.
Yeah,
this is an odd choice.
Library is very odd. That's, yes. But drone work just to determine who is positioned upstairs. Black Dragons is waiting to get the call. They've got half of their players on drones right now. The other half seem to be waiting for that intel. A drone is only good for 5 seconds afterwards, sometimes not even that. It sounds like the Mozzie of Hugzord and the Jackal of Live gotten into a brief fight upstairs. Navi's is flying blind. Once again, these two teams, we saw the map stats for Villa. This is not a very well-played map by either team. You noted that this isn't really a map that we see much at all. We saw Liquid play it last week. First kill goes to MIBR. Down goes PZD. Live almost finished off. Cyber goes down himself. So, at least he trades his life. There goes Bullet on to Wog as well. Live creeping up over to Classical Hall. He'll head to the main stairs. The C7E. Oh, he splatters M-King's brains all over the back of that wall. And he'll continue to march forward. 3v3. Cyber gets picked back up. Live on flashing HP. MIBR need to get back onto the site. They've been masterful at giving up control and then snapping their fingers and retaking against Black Dragons, but will BD fall into that same trap?
It's definitely slowed down again, and this is the problem here for Black Dragons. Slow often means time for the roamers to move around, which is exactly what's happening.
Navis will head up to that second floor as they know that the sledge is still in play. As you can hear the sledgehammer of Hornetow doing work. You have to be wary for a C4 that might, or a Claymore right, that might be positioned down. Navis has a hatch that he can drop. And he's going to go. Hugzord softening up 1, turns around 2, as Navis appears out of nowhere. He's still in such a good spot, so Hornetow will have to rush on into the site. 5 seconds left. That is quite the animation to see, but Navis, almost as if he heard us call him out earlier on in this matchup. Navis is having a banger. He's having a party. It's a birthday party.
He's certainly showing up, and as you said, that's the important thing, is Navis and Cyber showing up.
If Navi shows up and if Cyber shows up, it's very challenging to defeat MIBR, period.
It's like you can kill, a bunch of the other members of the team, but if they're still alive, clutch potential's there. So it's, yeah, Black Dragons, again, attack, really not their forte here on this map, it seems so far. As they have yet to play it this season. As I mentioned earlier, MIBR a little more comfortable on it. We'll see how MIBR's attacks go. It could very much flip around once they switch sides. But the defenses from MIBR have been very flexible. Outside of their trophy loss, which they just didn't seem prepared for the way that Black Dragons attacked it on the very first round, there's a chance we might see them go to trophy before their defense is done. But they can go back to Aviator. They should and they will. So having had success now on Kitchen and Living, that is definitely a good setup for them to be in, because trophy is still a good bomb site, despite how much I kind of downplay it sometimes. So they're going to go back to the old Jackal Dokkaebi again, see if that'll help this time. Mute will be in effect to help with that a little bit in terms of countering it. But, I mean, you don't have to roam super heavy on this site either, because there's a lot of very defensible positions in both the bomb sites, especially with the rotates. The gun vault being a big part of that, of course.
10 seconds left.
And the lack of hard breach, meaning that gun vault's going to stay closed. Means you can play pretty securely in a lot of positions. And that's really a problem for Black Dragons to push into. You mentioned earlier about Liquid's success in doing so, but the difficulty inherent in doing so is you're funneled very heavily through doorways in tons of positions where the defenders can have a straight 90-degree angle on you. And what can you do about it outside of utility? Maybe throwing stuns or flashes, things like that. I mean, at this point, you're almost maybe better off bringing a Ying to just go in, or combine with a Captao, something to kind of shock and awe as you go into the site. A bit of a roam coming in here for Bullet, absolutely anticipating this laundry push. Timing needs to be on a side. I think this is likely to be Hornetown outside. But Bullet just being patient, looking for a drone as well, making sure he's not getting caught off in the spot. Does hear and see one. Now he's caught. He's going to rotate out. Hornetown just not fast enough to catch it.
Missed opportunities abound. Excellent camera work as well from Bullet, who's taken a step back in terms of fragging. We noted that he was the top player and top performer for MIBR. See, the ADS speed, it obviously feels slower, don't get me wrong, and for people who play all that often, but it doesn't look that much slower.
Yeah.
Just...
It's honestly, like, sometimes it's just a tiny bit of difference, but in this game, like, that really makes... just a few milliseconds here or there is enough to be literally the difference between life and death.
No, I know that there's a tweet waiting to happen from a pro being like, nah, no way, and Taro's saying it's not that slow. And it's like, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying...
Is it doesn't visually appear to be that slow. What I'm saying is that,
yes, visually it does not appear to be that slow from a spectator perspective.
Yeah.
And like I said, and I will fully concede, I actually haven't played with the speed change.
Time does slow down when you're very much in this focus mode as well, and that can really exaggerate the difference.
It's also muscle memory, right? Like if you're used to being able to zoom in and start shooting
when to click
quickly,
mouse 1.
Yeah, you're going to have to unlearn that, though. I would argue that it's not like they just dramatically slowed down ADS altogether. They just reverted it. That's it. It's back to the way it was up until a couple seasons ago. So
I feel like also if you start ADSing and then fire, from my understanding, it seems like that often will fire as if you are in ADS in terms of accuracy versus hip fire. So I guess maybe you can click mouse 1 still a little bit early and hope that works.
This is an interesting retake from MIBR.
Yeah.
2 members on red stairs, but no, Hornetown catches one, doesn't see the other. Bullet has the refrag, and now he's going to need to hurry. His position has been given away, and Black Dragons knows that there's one on the roam that will lurk deep in the shadows. Perfect time for a toxic canister to go down. There's still one remaining in the hands of the smoke as the logic bombs go off, and then they silence themselves once they have expired. Black Dragons will be pushing from 2 separate directions, and it's going to be a slugfest with PZD credited with 2 kills, though he trades out M-King. It's a bit delayed. Lagonis goes for the plant. There goes a C4. It catches. 2 kills from MIBR. Wog does not have the tools needed to push in. Bullet. Once again, I said Bullet's taking a bit of a step back. He has a huge round. MIBR have looked like the better team so far today, though it is defense. On Villa, they're up 4-1.
Yeah, not a big surprise in that sense, but it is definitely looking pretty good for MIBR in that they look very in control. There are roamers, for example, the crouch walk up the stairs. Should have been an attacker advantage thing, but the fact that the roamers, they're not only playing flexibly in terms of how they're moving around, they seem to have a good awareness of where the attackers are playing from. It's not like the attackers are popping up in unexpected spots. Yes, there was, I think, 1 kill out of that the red stairs creep, but the fact that it was quickly traded, it doesn't seem like MIBR are like getting caught off in compromised positions. And that is kind of funny to see with the Jackal and Dokkaebi being played so consistently that the defenders are still the ones on top of where the attackers are most times. Some of that's going to come out from the extra cameras that are being provided by Valkyrie or the pulse play, which we're seeing again this round. Things like that are able to anticipate where the attackers are coming from as well, but also sometimes it's just the drones, right? You see a drone coming from a position, you know where that attacker likely came from and anticipate where they're likely to push from. It's just Black Dragons are having a hard time surprising MIBR in catching a lot of early picks on these roamers. I think if they could more often, especially if one of those happened to be Cyber or Navis, that would really improve their chances here. And last minute pushes through smoke like that, unfortunately, unless you cleared the players with C4, as you saw, it becomes kind of a problem to get that plant down. The C4 wasn't even necessarily that accurate. You saw it stick on the display case. it was just close enough, and the splash was there. So MIBR, I mean, they're looking like a high potential they take this first half in 5-1. But we've seen Villa so often go that complete reverse on the side switch.
5-1 and then 5-1. It's actually a lot more common than you expect on a map like Villa. And it can be really frustrating for fans to watch as their team's lead just slowly bleeds away, even though I think most people would argue from their understanding of this map, you never really had a really good grip on the lead to begin with if it's going to fall off that fast.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, side switch is more than just a momentum change, right? It's a complete difference in the way you have to play the game. Because of that, it really can benefit one team or the other. But speaking of benefiting one more than the other, Hugsword from below, pre-opening the floor, anticipating someone jumping in through the bathroom window, lays down live early. That's one less roam control operator they're going to have to worry about. So no jackal tracking. Now they can just continue to walk around the house in their shoes. Wag, though, manages to find one with the DMR onto Navi's. Not an easy thing to do, but Lagona's following that up as well. Really well done. However, easily equalized by Bullet, as you said. Came alive last round and continuing that this round. Good job from Ozzy as well.
Bucking the trend of the slow rounds that we have had throughout all of Latin America today, and in fact through this match too. But a brief bit of action has now resulted in a lull. C4 gets tossed up. That will connect. No, just narrowly getting out of the way is Black Dragons. I don't know if they heard the C4 get ripped or tossed or not. Probably because that floor is opened up. M-King decides to re-engage, and it's to his doom and his demise as Hornatow manages to take him out of action. It's the very final defense for MIBR, and a 5-1 is a great exclamation point before you swap sides. It was too much of a difference to overcome for Elevate in the very first match when they were going up against Ninjas in Pajamas. Villa's got some similarities to Clubhouse, but you can still see Black Dragons be able to muster up a comeback.
I know they got man advantage at the moment. Wag has taken a bit of damage, but it's not like they've got Diffuser off on the other side of the map. They can totally make this play, but honestly, they need to make it a bit more together. That's the problem right now, is the attackers are very spread out from each other.
Yeah. You're running out of time if you're Black Dragons now, and Hugsword, in a joint effort, will lose all but a tiny portion of his health. He throws down a Toxic Canister and calls in the cavalry. His Bullet will now hold the doorway angle, and Hugsword moves away from. In the barbed wire, he knows there's one. Bullet has his back. Shotgun out. He need to go for broke with this SMG-11. Bullet's coming alive now. 2 kills for him. 3 in total for this round. Wog is the only one up. He takes out Bullet, but Hugsword is there. How about a 5-1 split for MIBR? That's almost perfect.
Yeah. I mean, the first round almost feels more like a fluke at that point, just in terms of the fact that Black Dragons really kind of just caught them off guard. Something they didn't repeat because they didn't repeat Trophy. They completely avoided Trophy. That's rare to see as well, to go through 5 defensive rounds in a row without playing Trophy. Definitely odd, but it certainly worked out great for MIBR. They're looking pretty good here, but like we said before, things could really switch. We're going to start an Aviator games here for Black Dragons. Good position to be in. They're going to bring all the tools they need to make this work. The Maestro being a big part of that. Goyo as well can potentially slow things down if they stick to that. Doe could be also being brought out here. A very strong operator in Villa in general, one that we often see. Just didn't work out great for Black Dragons. MIBR may be able to capitalize on it better. If they do, they've only got to win 2 rounds. So they may not have to really drag that out. But as we talked about before, this is a hard site to attack without Thatcher. But the one thing MIBR are doing 100% different than Black Dragons is actually bringing a hard breacher. Habana in this case is a little better in the sense that you can avoid some of the impact tricking with some of those low X Kairos. But at the same time, the same could be said, I suppose, for the Thermite on the floor. But that's just often so well countered with shotgunning the floor out, which always just brings me back to the shotgunning out of Classroom in Oregon, when players used to do that to be able to prevent destroying the hatch.
Yeah, they'd blow up the entire wall because there's a radius around that exothermic charge. I don't really think the composition that Black Dragons was running was particularly effective at all. You know, they brought the roam clear entry and with Jackal.
It's like if they had executed really well on it, it would have been.
It did look like they were playing in silos, even though they had the Dokkaebi and even though they had the Jackal, they weren't really able to do what you bring those operators to do. And whether you can really credit MIBR or not, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it was more that Black Dragons just did not look comfortable attacking on Villa whatsoever. How is MIBR's potency when it comes to attacking, though? Wog will take a bullet in the shoulder and then get out of there as MIBR decides to take full control of Master. This Goyo is still being pinged away. He'll get chased off, which will allow MIBR to just continue to walk in and progressively, step by step, take some of the map control from Black Dragons. It might be one of the things with MIBR, though, to keep in mind is they played really well from behind. And they were able to retake really well.
Yeah.
It's not Wog, but the opening pick will go to MIBR. It's traded off, and then traded off yet again. MIBR in lockstep with one another, and they will just continuously tick away at the defense that we see from Black Dragons.
The loss of the buck is definitely going to be felt here. Cyber, just a lot of that utility being very useful. The grenades, especially with all those shields in play. You've got 2 sets of impacts as well from Black Dragons. But the important thing is they killed the Valkyrie with the C4. And that's certainly going to help things if they have to rush in for a push, like they very likely will. Because I don't think Hibana's going to open up enough for them to be able to push through a wall. It's very likely just to put pressure on players inside sight, if that comes out. But right now, it looks like they're actually just going for what I would call a backside push onto the doorway, the north side doorway. One of the Goyo shields now down. 2 impacts still in pocket for both Goyo and Maestro, as well as it doesn't look like they're really getting a whole lot of impact out of those.
Wog will see all that shelter into the B site get blown apart. He can't impact trick that wall, as you very wisely noted, because he has them in that pocket. Bullet playing around the pillar here now. He and Navi's trying to do a joint effort to shake loose something from BD, but no, Lagonis will win that fight. Poor timing from MIBR.
They're definitely really suffering from the lack of like real hard breach going on here. They're starting to do it now. You hear the X-Kairos go out from Hugzord. Here, 2 sets. So, impact tricking. It's going to happen.
Misses both.
Oh, wow. I thought I got 1 set for a second there.
It actually looks like it missed all of it unless there was a higher angle. But no, there's 2 windows now that have been opened up by MIBR. And M-King's grenade will find its target on the Lagonis. Down goes Wog as well. Hornetal will throw out his first of 3 toxic canisters. Finds a Zofia, plays that one exceptionally well. Now throws out another toxic canister as he'll head on over to Study. He won't be successful in stopping that diffuser from going down, nor will he be successful at finding a remaining member of MIBR. They'll sit on match point now, and Black Dragons looking weak.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, MIBR were really not doing what they needed to do up until they started opening the wall. The complete failure there from Black Dragons to really be able to do anything with 4 impact grenades being brought, that really hurt them, because you saw the weakness. Once they started to lose their position inside, they really lost a lot of their advantage in terms of what I was talking about. You know, those hard walls allow you to play so much of the Aviator room. The rotates that you set up on the soft wall between Aviator games, relatively secure, other than, say, from the doorway on Classical Hallway. Because of that, because they lost that advantage, they were forced to then, okay, well, we have some positions we could play in games. We've got the gun vault, but that's really about it in terms of security. The Goyo shields as well, once those were destroyed, yes, it did burn a little bit of time, but MIBR weren't trying to push at that time, so it was good utility clear on that, because then they had the ability to actually move in those doorways that they'd softened up by using the Headline X-Kairos to open the wall. So it was just a bit of a slow attack, but MIBR at the end of the day did what they needed to do, and Black Dragons just didn't have much to push back with. So, looking pretty good for MIBR to potentially close this out. I'll be honest though, I think it's more likely to go 7-2, 7-3, just because I don't see Black Dragons rolling over completely. But you never know. Trophy is, again, a tough site sometimes to win against a team that's got very good attack strategies on it and has the utility that they need to make things happen. Without Thatcher, though, it can be a little more difficult because you want to open up that statuary wall from the master bedroom, and of course, a little more difficult to do without the Thatcher. There's also the possibility of impact tricking on that wall, as that wall also has the top open. I got to imagine once impact tricking became a thing, Ubisoft still left walls like that. In fact, I think they increased the number of maps with walls that were impact trickable. Makes me think they wanted to support it, but there were situations also where they removed it, like in Clubhouse on the hot tub wall. So it's like, they want to encourage it, but not over-encourage it.
Could you imagine if Gym and Bedroom allowed you to impact trick?
It's like, I really liked it at first, but I totally acknowledge it was
way too defender-sided.
Totally was. And now Gym's a bit more of a balanced side.
I would say that it's more attacker-favored most of the time, which is good.
Yeah, it's in a good place.
But you're right. I balanced is absolutely correct. So, anyway, match point, MIBR. Once again, very slow between these teams. Our very first match was a blowout for Ninjas in Pajamas. Tightly fought between Team Liquid and FaZe, arch nemesis, and then MIBR now absolutely clobbering Black Dragons. All right. tools being brought from MIBR, very similar to what they brought previously. They've got lots of annoyance and a nuisance that comes in the hands of the Zofia and as well as the Dokkaebi. That sounds like the first logic bomb.
A lot of droning going on in terms of at least trying to establish where they're playing from, because once you get those Dokkaebi phone calls, it's not just necessarily about being physically near, which I said is helpful because you want to execute on the information, but the droning itself will pick up the sound. And there's a lot of times people underestimate the value of sound, which is one of the few things that does help a little bit with dealing with Mozzie. It's just exact positioning you're not going to get from sound, especially the way sound propagation works in this game.
Yeah.
You're going to get a general idea, and you really have to adapt off of that. I like seeing the invitational skin there running the Mozzie. The fun stadium one. Road to SI.
It's a really nice skin. The universal skin.
It almost seems like it would have been an elite because it's a face reveal and everything.
Yeah, that's true.
PZD, unfortunately, not escaping with his life from Astro. Finished off by Sledge. Cyber continuing his reign of terror. If Bullet continues to come alive as well, it could be pretty good, but Hugzord is the one to fall here. So they're hard breach down. Now, that does make things more difficult from what we saw last round, but Trophy is a little bit different than Aviator games.
If you can see some control happen now over towards blue, then MIBR might be able to make things work with it. Hornetow from below doesn't have a nitro cell. Wog does not have a nitro cell. So this could be tough for Black Dragons, as MIBR are very close to being able to take control of the site. Lagonis will be a very big factor as he just takes a ton of damage and is now under watch, but he guns down Bullet. Down goes M-King. So Cyber in a 1v2 sees the Mozzie. He's able to do a tiny bit of damage, but not all that much. He's got a frag grenade in hand. The Mozzie will have to move. It lands in front of Hornetow, tiny bit of damage, but not all that much. His position now given away as he hits the barbed wire. All you need is one angle. He's not going to be able to see behind him. Lagonis will be credited with the kill. You were right. Black Dragons will not roll over on this one. They pick up their second round, but they're going to need a lot more in order to draw.
Some of that definitely the benefit of the killing the hard breacher early, but there was also a lot of denial trying to stop that wall from being open regardless, so that might not have made a difference. In fact, it might have actually burned more time with them trying to open that. But at the same time, the play inside Master Bedroom, despite the fact that he didn't land 2 kills out of it, that really shut things down on the push for quite some time. A lot of trades back and forth, but at the end of the day, just MIBR with not enough man advantage to be able to make that work. However, back to Aviator games. So if you are BD, you're really looking at, okay, how can we deny the wall getting open and force them to play into the doorways? The Goyo shields, while they did a little bit, weren't hugely impactful that last round, and so I mean, you're going to get a lot of that gun regardless, but they may want to just make sure that, at the very least, they are prepared for the pushes that follow once those shields are removed. On the upside, it does remove utility from the attackers, and that is, of course, the main reason that people were concerned about Goyo. Not that his shields were overpowered, but that they would debalance the resource game between attackers and defenders. Now, that hasn't had as much strong an impact as people anticipated, partially because there are times where people don't feel compelled to remove every Goyo shield. Sometimes that depends on placement, sometimes it depends on bomb site. So because of that, there are judgment calls made by the attackers to decide which shields are important to remove, but also a lot of defenders can't always play safely behind the shield to turn it into anything more than potentially just a fire area denial. Area denial.
Area denial.
A little bit of a hiccup in the middle of the word there.
That's fine.
Good camera placement there. The beam's going to cover up some of the angles towards the other doorway, but that will also protect it from being easily spotted. And so we'll be able to watch it Astro just a bit. I like the idea. We'll continue to see the Dokkaebi brought out. That will definitely help with, again, sometimes it's not about roam clearing on this map because there's so much to control. It's about roam control in terms of where do we need to worry about, what flanks do we need to cover, and can we just take site?
Well, here's one of your last stands inside of the Astro part of this map. Referred to by some people as blue, but it's Astro. He's not playing in this map, please for face.
Yeah.
And of course, this carbine is going to be able to do maximum damage, even at that range, as he sits and waits for someone to push through bathroom. Wog has been downed, so MIBR might be able to secure this kill. As you can hear the commando of Navi's doing some work. Wog is going to continue to try to crawl to safety. This is a rough spot for Live as he's under watch from multiple drones. He'll push up. He's been able to take some of that away from the attackers. And there's a logic bomb that will hopefully be able to shake him off of his spot. Many members of MIBR are now situated inside of Master, with Cyber holding that angle. the Jaeger might be able to get away.
He can rotate back, though. Oh, to his own demise!
Beautiful toss there as PZD gets 1-2. Wog has been picked up. Cyber finishes off PZD. So MIBR, opening pick. They've been absolutely dominating Black Dragons in opening picks right now. Only 2 so far for Black Dragons through 9 rounds. That's not ideal.
Definitely look like MIBR could take this round. As long as they don't make any real extreme mistakes, it's very much doable. Especially with Wag at low health. He did get picked up, but
oh my.
Bullet finishing off Hornet's out there just makes this even more doable. The Maestro's the real big worry, I think.
And Lagonis was holding that angle, and he'll go right back to it. Wog can frag on low HP as he finds shelter near the site. It's a deployable shield that will keep him intact for now. On his belly, Lagonis. It's a hollow, not the ACOG, so he might not be able to engage at the long range that he'd want. It's still an absolute laser beam, though, because, well, Maestro doesn't have an ACOG anymore. There goes a frag grenade tossed in. Lagonis sees it clear as day, right in front of his very eyes. Wog will need to peek now. He does 1 damage, but not enough. That's it. MIBR, 7-2.
Very well done. A great game from them. And as I said, I think, you know, at the end of the day, MIBR a little bit of the better team, but at the same day, or at the same time, that was kind of a runaway success for them. And a lot of that just due down to Black Dragon's attacks really faltering.
Yeah. Not ideally the circumstances you want to find yourself in if you're Black Dragons, knowing that you are already towards the bottom of the standings. For MIBR, they came in tied against Black Dragons. They pick up 3 very large points, and there is some volatility in the standings. We saw it ourselves earlier with Team Liquid conquering FaZe and Ninjas in Pajamas beating Elevate. There's room for MIBR to continue to climb up those standings. We'll see them